I think we're good, yes.
We are not hearing you at all.
We are just making sure that the spotlight is in the correct position before we get started. Thank you for your patience. This is a test. Everyone can hear the interpreter's voice.
Yep, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ash. You will see me tracking two different screens because one of my devices is connected to the main room. Another device is connected to the ASL room, and that's where I'm monitoring the interpreter who I'm working with, okay? Before I get started with my share, I first want to say thank you, and I am so honored to be chosen for this 10-minute slot. With that honor comes quite a bit of nerves. So I'm afraid, signing quickly, which is one reason I need to monitor the interpreter to make sure that they are keeping up. As many of you have experienced, I'm sure that with emotion comes speed. So I want to make sure that everyone has access during my share. I will be sharing today on Tradition 5. I am now going to ask the interpreter to take a quick minute. Okay, the interpreter's minute is now over. The reason I asked for that to be done is to give you an experience of who is suffering more. And that is my actual request that you all put yourself in this moment. In the AA community, who is at a disadvantage? Those of us that use sign language to communicate. I don't speak. I don't have access to the side conversations that are being had in meetings. I am a member of a fourth generation deaf family. I don't have problem accessing my home language. I have problem accessing AA. I can't adapt. I don't have the auditory function to do that. You all do. You can learn my language. You can help with that. You can help my community. As a deaf person, you can see how important my eyes are. I use them now to communicate with you, to monitor my interpreter, to communicate in my day-to-day life with people everywhere, including in cars. So think about that as you communicate with us. Please don't have everything be so dependent on auditory access, on ears to access. I am lucky in this deaf community. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm from generations of deaf people. So I have access to my family history and my cultural history. Imagine deaf people who don't come from this rich, robust background. Think about going to a Thanksgiving dinner. Holidays are coming up where you have a round table full of people talking in a way that you can't access. You might be sitting next to your brother or sister trying to figure out, what are they saying? What's mom saying? Why is everybody laughing? What's going on? And a common response and a common experience that deaf individuals feel is that finger up saying, hold on, I'll tell you later. What does a lifetime of that reject and neglect and lack of access lead to? Addictions. And then you get told in your journey towards being sober that you need to go to these meetings. You sit in meetings then where you can't access the stories being shared, and the person next to you holds up that same finger that your family held up at Thanksgiving dinners. So then you ask for an interpreter, and wow, interpreters are expensive. But I am court ordered to be here. My survival depends on me being here. AA is great now. It's online. There are meeting lists available. I can find any meeting in whatever community I happen to be in. Great. But where is the interpreters for those meetings? I don't have the same access that everyone else does. I am so grateful right now for Zoom. Thank God for Zoom. I know we are living in a crisis, but this has been a blessing. I can access these meetings with interpreters. I have other deaf people here with me to have fellowship. I have that access, and that is a common sentiment of the deaf recovery community is thank God for this. As this occurs and we continue down this joint recovery path, please remember that we have our own experiences. We have our own preferences and our own ways of handling the world. Ask us what we want. Ask us what we need. We are not babies. We are adults. We do not need to be spoon-fed. We have transitioned through this world as addicts and now as recovering alcoholics. Please ask us. Not any interpreter is good for every situation. Some interpreters specialize in medical fields. Others specialize in recovery. Others specialize in education. So please do not make that choice for us. We make the decisions as to who is a qualified interpreter. If we are sent and want to come to these AA meetings and we have interpreters and yet we still can't access the information because the additional load, again, the burden is put on us to try to figure out what language is coming through that conduit, it again is another barrier to our recovery. If you have someone who is overly eager to interpret, that's a red flag. Please check with your deaf AA community members. Please check with your larger deaf AA community. Believe it or not, we have a version of a filtering system by those of us who are accessing recovery. So please check with us. There are multiple stories of members of the deaf community on this road to sobriety where mid-meeting an interpreting student is brought on the scene. All of a sudden, I can't then access the same way I was accessing earlier. If it's up to me and my recovery, I wouldn't have made that decision. So please, please check with us. We have a say in this. It's already a struggle for us. So please work with us in that. We ask that you be sensitive. Again, Zoom has been a blessing for us. I hope that a component of this remains as we find our new normal. The communities we live in are becoming ghost towns. The deaf communities that we live in are becoming ghost towns. Not every deaf community has access to interpreters. If they do have access to interpreters, they may not have access to the finances to secure those services. And that is a charge that I see AA is responsible for addressing. Tradition 5 is carry the message. But how do we do that if we have such a bisect in our community? Those that are living a version of disability are continually being further oppressed and hindered from this access. If you look at individuals who are deaf going through the detox process, they are additionally suffering compared to the larger community, and especially compared to the larger hearing population of recovery. So we don't have the success rates that you see in larger communities. My world, my culture is so blessed to have Zoom. There are still large advances to make. Don't get me wrong. I love going to real life meetings as well, but being able to attend meetings with a robust deaf culture and feeling my people in also my recovery community is truly, truly a blessing. I have run out of time. Thank you all for the time to share, and blessings. Thank you so much.